Welcome into Locked On 76ers. Keith Pompey, Marc Farzetta. Keith, there are so many reports out there involving the 76ers now that we are just 2 weeks away, less than 2 weeks away from the NBA draft. We're going to sift through it all when it comes to smoke screens and what is an actual potential real deal the Sixers are interested in making, plus the return of Kyle Lowry, ? We'll get into all that and more on this edition of Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we do thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by the great people at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Once again, Keith Pompey, been covering the Sixers for 15 years on the beat. Marc Farzetta, I've been talking Philly sports for damn near 20 years. Keith, there is so much to get into. And before I get into anything else, let me just start with this. We live, folks. We are live doing the show. So we want people in the chat getting involved. We want to be asking questions here. We want people to be talking about whatever they want to talk about with the 76ers. Here's a couple of the main points for today. Kyle Lowry's return, potentially, with the 76ers. I know Keith's got something on that. Then we also want to get into that number 3 overall pick, the all-important third overall pick in the upcoming draft. If the Sixers are moving up, there's reports about VJ Edgecombe, there's reports about Ace Bailey, there's reports about trading back, there's reports about trading up. So much to get to involving that pick. We'll get to all that and more. And then just one question I have, Keith, because we talked about this a little bit yesterday. Are people actually interested? Not like, oh, I could be swayed. Are they actually interested in trading Tyrese Maxey? Is there a world where people are like, oh, no, I would do that in a heartbeat? You had tweeted it out that just the show that we did and the headline was about trading Maxey, about people knocking on the door, a trade proposal that was thought up by a writer, and we just talked about it on the show. And people were like, I'd trade Maxey in a heartbeat. I wouldn't. I am not of that school. I know you're not either. But I just want to ask the people, are you on board with trading Tyrese Maxey? Because to me, that would signal another process starting for the Sixers. I'm out on that. So please, everyone in the comments, hit us up, let us know and all that. Before we go any further with that third overall pick, I know there's some information you might have on Kyle Lowry as to what's going on with the 76ers and potentially a running it back with a 39-year-old veteran.
Well, no, it's really not. Well, here's the deal. At the end of the season, Kyle Lowry stated that he wants to come back, right?
Okay.
He said that he wants to play one more season. And, a couple of people asked me recently, and I got one particular question in my mailbag, the Inquirer.com mailbag, where a person asking that. And I said, yeah, it looks like he'll most likely be back. But here's the thing, I feel like I know a lot of people, and I see my man Phil W. Return Lowry. Oh no, he needs to retire, trying to get free paycheck, right? Now look, here's the deal, y'all. Like when you look at when you look at UD, and I'm talking about Udonis Haslem, who played with the Miami Heat. They got 17 roster spots right now. Maybe only 11 guys play. Like if we're going to be real. And what you do is you have a spot available for a guy who can be an extension of the coaching staff in the locker room, a guy who's been a veteran player, been around for a while, and just provides that spark, that leadership. And that's the role that I think that Kyle Lowry will be great at. I mean, you look at it during, when the Sixers were tanking the last couple of months of the season, Kyle was there when Maxey wasn't playing. They had the first 2 seats right next to the coaching staff, and the whole game, Kyle was pointing stuff out to him. Other guys, he would point stuff out to them, and he just was a leader of the locker room. So when you see James Johnson, and you see guys like that who are veterans, even Markieff Morris, before he was traded to the Lakers when he was with the Dallas Mavericks, he was a guy who basically was at the end of the bench telling the young guys what to do. So with that being said, yeah, bring him back. Because it's not saying he's going to be getting 20 minutes a game. He's going to be an extension of the coaching staff in the locker room.
Fair enough. Now, this is exactly what we're talking about here. DJ, a.k.a. Mr. Sandman, my man, what's going on? If Luka Doncic can get traded, anyone not named LeBron or Bronny James can get traded. Hey, look, I'm not saying that. I understand that. But the question is, would you? I understand anyone could get traded at any minute. And certainly Luka is a guy that's a great example of that. But I'm just saying I would not trade Tyrese Maxey, just for the record. Now, on your point with Kyle Lowry, so it's not like the Sixers have announced anything or told you anything or Kyle Lowry. You're saying that it would absolutely make sense, though, to bring back a veteran, almost in the cliche of player coach, if you were to bring back Kyle Lowry.
Look, man, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, I'm saying that, and well, he expressed the interest of coming back specifically to the 76ers. I believe that Nick Nurse is the coach, right? We all know that. I believe that Nick Nurse wants somebody in the locker room who he can trust, someone who can basically relay the message that he has to the younger players, to know someone that if Nick Nurse isn't time for him to get tough on the guys where he doesn't feel like it's that time, Kyle Lowry's not afraid to do it, right? So that's what I'm saying. And like, let's face it, there's 17 roster spots, 17 of them, right? So with that being said, Kyle Lowry could eat one of them for a veteran minimum. Like, we're not talking about giving them like $12 million, to wave the towel. We're talking about we're going to give you a veteran minimum for you to provide leadership to this team.
Gotcha. All right. That makes sense. I would be in favor of something like that. I would then be in favor of continuing to add young players to the roster. They got young players on the roster.
I mean, exactly. That's the point. That's the point. You bring a young player to the team, you got a vet. You know what I mean? That's a former six-time All-Star. Now, again, he's in the twilight of his career, but you know what I mean? Get like someone like you need a vet, man. You need some vets. You need a guy who not only was a six-time All-Star, he was an NBA champion, and he was an Olympic gold medalist. No one else has that resume on the team.
Would this then push aside Eric Gordon?
Nah, I mean, I don't see Eric Gordon's situation is different because he
can still shoot
that player. He has that player option, right?
Okay,
I mean,
fair enough.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. When you have now, it may push away someone else. Like it could push away like a young guy, but we're talking about a young guy who wouldn't play. You know what I mean? Here's the thing, like Eric Gordon, I think that's a different animal. What I'm talking about is you want someone, let's just say if they go get VJ Edgecombe, let's just say if they should happen to trade up and get Dylan Harper. Well, I mean, you're going to need a veteran guard to do it because when you look at it, the most veteran guard who's a ball handler that you have is Tyrese Maxey. As much as Tyrese Maxey is a rising, star in this league, Kyle Lowry forgot more things than he knows. You know what I mean? So That's all I'm saying. Like, I mean, if here's the deal. When people keep worrying about this guy can't play, I don't want him on my team. Just look at the teams that go far in the playoffs. They all have an old head sitting at the end of the bench, but naturally they don't sit at the end of the bench. They sit close between the star players, and they're always like they're going over to them and they're saying, "Hey, what did I do wrong? Can you help me out? Can you do this? Can you do that?" And as my man DJ, aka Mr. Sandman, said, Kyle Lowry is the only real point guard on the roster, right? So you need to get somebody like that to help these young guys out, help them to get in their spots, help them to see the floor better. So I'm just saying, an extension of the floor, because if you don't bring them back, then you might as well open up another coaching position for him to become a coach. You know what I mean? Because believe me, they need him.
All right, fair enough. All right, now I want to make sure we give all the time we can to the third overall pick and what the Sixers could do with it. I know we're live, so everything's going to be fluid, but I want to jump into that. So I want to give it the full time coming up in this next segment. Lots of rumors, lots of reports coming out there regarding the 76ers and what they're going to do at number 3, even trade up, trade back, draft VJ Edgecombe, not draft Ace Bailey, draft Ace Bailey, not VJ. We're going to get into it all when we come back. This is Locked On 76ers podcast on the Locked On Sixers YouTube channel. Oh, now it's time to tell you about OLIPOP. Oh, my goodness gracious. It's the new kind of soda made for people who love the classic taste of soda but want something that supports their health with just 2 to 5 grams of sugar and 6 grams of prebiotic fiber in every can. OLIPOP is reimagining soda in a way that makes it better for your gut. Traditional sodas are loaded with sugar, like 39 grams in a regular Coke or 44 grams in an orange Fanta. OLIPOP flips the script and makes it healthy for you. Fraction of the sugar, no artificial sweeteners, and a gut-friendly ingredient that Ollie Smart. How about that? Just like Ollie Smart. A blend shown to support digestive and overall health. It's soda that tastes great and like the real thing, but actually does something good for your body. Have you noticed that after drinking OLIPOP how much better you feel? Well, you feel great after it. How about that? Get a free can of OLIPOP. Just buy any can, any 2 cans in store, and they'll reimburse you for 1. That's get a free can of OLIPOP. Just buy any 2 cans in store, and they'll reimburse you for 1. Head to drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA to claim your free can and find OLIPOP near you. That's drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, Keith, shortly after we finished the show yesterday, maybe 20, 30 minutes later, there's another report out there surrounding the San Antonio Spurs and how the Philadelphia 76ers reportedly, and this one comes from Michael Scotto of hoopshype.com, saying that sources have engaged the 76ers have engaged with the San Antonio Spurs about potentially moving up to the number 2 overall pick. For now, the Sixers have zeroed in on 4 NBA trade prospects with the number 3 pick, including a private workout last week with VJ Edgecombe and Ace Bailey coming to Philadelphia to visit next week. What did you make of this report that was out there, and how much of this should the good people believe?
I think they should believe 100%. Afterwards, I reached out to some sources, and I was told that they did call him. I mean, so Mike is a great reporter. I think he's a little underrated. A lot of people don't give him his flowers because he does break a lot of stuff. And he was 100% accurate. And, and then I was talking to a source, and they was like, well, how many first-round picks do the Sixers have? And they kind of laughed, right? I was like, wow. So here's the deal. Like, I mean, with this, the thing is, now this isn't new, and and we talked about it last week. They got to do their due diligence, right? They got to throw everything on the table, see what they got. And, as someone pointed out to me, and you forget about it, they said, Keith, since Daryl Morey has been there the last recent years, they've always gone after players. You remember like last year at the trade deadline or whatever, they're like going after players like they can't get, but they still went after them. So it's kind of like, when we were in high school or maybe in college, how you go out with one of your friends and you had one friend who, no matter who the girl was, like in the club, he hollered at every girl in the club, tried to get their number, right? And
we used to call that casting. We used to call that casting a wide net.
Yeah, and he's like, hey, I got a number, and it was like, okay, well, you got like 539 rejections, but you got one number, right? But at the same time, you got to respect that. I mean, you got to respect the fact that they're saying, you know what, we don't care. They're probably going to say no or whatever, but you never know unless you ask, right? So that's what the 76ers are doing. Like, it's one of those things where we everyone knows that there's only 2 players in the draft that people are saying can't miss. One is Dylan Harper, who's supposed to go to the Spurs at number 2. The other one is Cooper Flagg, who's supposed to go to the Dallas Mavericks at number 1. So what are the Sixers doing? They're trying to get involved in that situation. But to me, I'm going to be honest with you. It looks a little shaky to me, even though I respect their aggressiveness in this and everything. But when you start talking about you may trade up, you don't know who you're going to draft at the number 3 pick, or you may trade down. Now, again, you have 2 weeks to get this thing together, so you still have time. But what's your plan? Like, what I mean? Like, who are you focusing on? Because right now it seems like they're a little bit all over the place, right? Now, again, I respect their aggressiveness, but they're a little bit all over the place. And with this being an extremely important draft for them, you know what I mean? It's not like you can get someone and say, okay, in a couple of years from now, everything is going to be good. We're going to give you time. No, they want to win. They really want to win. And it just seems like they're all over the place right now to me.
Okay. Well, I think if there is a phrase that people are going to hear on repeat on this show, from any other program that you like, the term due diligence is probably going to be the term of the next week and a half leading up to the NBA draft, because that's what everybody's doing. And I don't believe that these are things that are just thrown out by people to see what sticks, or I don't consider them all to be clickbait. It makes sense. When I read a report like this from Mike Scotto, it makes sense. All it is saying that the Sixers called. It's not saying the Sixers are trying to really push to get that number 2 overall pick. That's not what the report is. The report is simply doing due diligence. They're doing their job. Whenever I read a report like this, I'm like, oh, Daryl Morey he's working today. Okay, cool. That's really all I get out of it. Now, as far as moving up, I think you would absolutely have to part ways with the 2 first-round picks that you got down the line from the Clippers in 2028 and 2029. But I think the Spurs are going to want something a little bit more, to date, as opposed to down the line. So that's the way I look at this report, Keith. Now, the other way to look at this is, unfortunately, a direction that I don't think most Sixers fans want the Sixers to go in, which is trading down in the draft. They don't like VJ Edgecombe. They don't like Ace Bailey. They don't like Trey Johnson. They trade down in the draft to possibly the 8 overall spot. And one person is putting this out there into existence, and that is, well, hopefully not existence just yet, but Kevin O'Connor is putting it out there saying that the Sixers would make a trade with the New Orleans Pelicans to move back in the NBA draft and move down to number 7 to take a center. The center out of Duke, Kaman Malauk, I believe it is. Big man. Mm-hmm. We've talked about him on the show before. That would certainly, when we had the conversation about how the draft impacts everything else, that would certainly tell you they don't have a lot of confidence in Joel Embiid really giving you anything of substance for the foreseeable future.
Well, typically, if you draft him at number 7, right now, what you're doing is you're projecting him to be like the backup and then for the future. Now, if you really felt like Joel Embiid was shot, you would take him at number 3. Now, trading down to 7, what it does is, you're going to get a player back who can start for you right now, right, in the draft. Because I forget who's the player they're talking about that they're bringing in as well.
Ace Bailey?
No, it's a veteran on New Orleans Pelicans. Oh man, his name escapes me right now. I'll look it up. But okay. But apparently that deal is going to be, if they make that deal, it's going to be another guy like that. You're going to get a veteran player with for in exchange for moving back. Now here's the only thing with that. Does that deal make you a championship team? I mean, does it, like, moving back, like, and it's good no. as much as everybody talks about how deep this draft is, right? Remember a month ago, everybody talking about, oh, this is going to be one of the greatest drafts in the last 20 years or the best one since LeBron James. Well, all I know is that draft pick was fire. They had a bunch of Hall of Famers, right? Like they have like 4 Hall of Famers in the top of the draft. This one, they're saying you only got 2 can't miss players.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you're going to trade back. So it's like, and to me, what that sounds like is the only thing trading back is going to help you with is salary cap, first and second apron, because then you don't get stuck with that top 6 pick type of money, right? So I don't know. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me to trade back to get a backup center. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It doesn't.
Well, I agree. But as far as the direction of Joel Embiid, that would kind of tell you that, oh, yeah, he's like, look, when I can only speak for myself. When I say Embiid is cooked, I mean, he's no longer an MVP candidate. He's barely an all-star candidate when he's healthy. I'm not saying he's going to make it all. I don't think he'll play enough games to be an MVP. I don't think he'll play enough games to prove whether or not he can be an all-star. But I don't think he'll be close to the MVP level, and I don't think he'll be an all-star. So in drafting another center, especially at 7, that tells me that, this is going to be over rather quickly when it comes to Joel Embiid. It's just a matter of whether or not the Sixers are still going to have to pay him.
Here's the problem with that guy, and his name is Kalaman, right?
Yeah.
The problem with him is he's extremely raw. And with that being said, he could develop to be a great guy because he has a lot of upside, but at the same time, he could also end up being a bust. He's not going to be ready to play for a couple years. He's just not. And right now, let's look at these NBA finals right now. And I feel crazy to agree with what you said in the past when I was like, I don't know. But look at how these teams are going small ball with centers, right? Mm-hmm. And, it's like that's what a Dembona is. And what I'm talking about is doing vital stretches. Like teams are going small, and like a Dembona right now to me seems maybe more ready than this guy, because at least we know a Dembona is going to get out there and run rim to rim, right? He's going to get these lobs. He's going to do that. Now, again,
he's an athlete.
He's an athlete. That's that guy's game too. But he brings that energy. He does a lot of things. But when I'm hearing that this guy offensively is several years away from the NBA game to being extreme impactful, then that's telling me it's a security blanket, but at the same time, is he going to be able to help you when you have a team right now that you're really trying hard to get to the championship? Is Kalaman as the backup center being selected at number 7? Is he going to help you?
Common Malak. I believe Malak is the last name for Duke, the center for Duke we're talking about. I agree. I think it's going to be a long road to get there for him. Certainly a player that can develop to be something special at the NBA level. But when it comes to what you're talking about with the smaller, more athletic, I should say, centers, he certainly would fit that bill. The other thing it makes me think of is go to the Sixers right now. I do believe this is going to be a year of transition. That's why I think Ace Bailey is still the perfect pick there, and do not want the Sixers to trade back, because you're not only going to have to transition to a Tyrese Maxey-led team or a guard-led team with most likely Maxey and McCain. You're also going to have to transition away from a center-dominant offense. Now, they started to do that last year, but not with these players. They started to do it with Quentin Grimes, and I'm hoping he'll be back with the Sixers as well. But you're going to have to get away from a center-dominant offense to getting to moving the ball around, Joel Embiid fulfilling the dreams of many throughout the Delaware Valley of staying a lot closer to the block. He's going to have to understand to play that type of basketball if, in fact, he is going to be out there enough to really help this team win. So that's a big transition, and they're going to have to go to a more athletic center eventually. But bottom line is they're going to have to go to guys that can shoot from the outside and then also be aggressive when attacking the rim. Bailey can create his own shot on the outside. He can set shoot. He can drive to the basket. He can be a weak side defender for help coming off, for blocks and stuff like that. And on the defensive end of things, I think he's the perfect fit to develop with this team as time goes on, both right now in the event that you have a little bit of health from Paul George and Joel Embiid, and then down the line as a guy that could develop as a, stretch 3, go into a shooting guard or go into a 4 with Tyrese Maxey or Jared McCabe down the line.
Now, here's the player that they're considering trading, right, for that is Herb Jones, right? Herb Jones averaged 10 points. He averaged 3.9 rebounds, 3.3 assists, and a career high 1.9 steals.
This is the
Pelicans. However, due to injuries, he only played in 20 games last year. So that's something else you got to deal with, another injured player coming in here, right? Now, the thing about Herb Jones, he's 6'8", he's 210 pounds. So if you look at it, him and Ace Bailey have around similar, heights. Like Ace Bailey is listed at 6'10", but he's actually 6'7.5" without any shoes. And Herb can play both positions, both forward positions. Now, here's something else. So he has 2 years left on his deal. He's 20. He's about to be 27, right? he'll make $13.9 million this upcoming season. Then the following season, he'll make $14.8 million, and then he becomes an unrestricted free agent. So basically what they're trying to do is, and Herb Jones was an all NBA defensive player, like all defensive 1 year. But what they're trying to do is they're going to give you a player that's injured or who only played in 20 games due to injuries to move up, right? So, you know what I mean? It's kind of enticing because when you think of how good of a defensive player he is and how he can play, but at the same time, he's a guy coming off an injury that if he was so great and was the glue guy, why are you trying to trade up to get Ace Bailey if you have Herb Jones? You know what I mean? So
I know it makes sense. You're making perfect sense.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah. All right. Last thing I'm going to ask you about the draft before we got to take the next break here. What is the likelihood, because I would lose my mind, what is the likelihood, Keith, that the Sixers do trade back?
I mean, I think everything's on the table right now. I do.
Oh, God.
I do.
Oh, God.
I do. I mean, like, if you feel like you can get value, I mean, like, depending on what you can get. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think the best thing is, I think right now, with all the hype with Ace Bailey, like, I keep thinking that could be the guy, and I know other names keep coming up, right? But at the same time, man, I could see them trading back depending on what people say. Like, everything's on the table right now.
All right. I really hope that doesn't happen. All right. When we come back, it's Friday the 13th. I got to ask you if you are superstitious, Keith Pompey. We'll get into that when we return. This is Locked On 76ers podcast on the Locked On Sixers YouTube channel. Make sure you guys are liking and subscribing to all things Locked On. Back after this. FanDuel, get on the action with FanDuel. Hopefully you guys are taking advantage of all FanDuel has to offer during the NBA Finals. Full swing right now with the Pacers up on OKC. How about that? Looking at Game 4, Indiana Pacers are actually 6-point underdogs for Game 4. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in on the action before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. And how about this? Starting off the NBA Finals, Pascal Siakam was plus 2,000 for MVP. Now that is plus 950. Not too bad there, Pascal. So how about that? Check out FanDuel and all they're offering right now. And if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. And if it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. That's right. New to FanDuel, perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. And if it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Friday the 13th, Keith Pompey. Do you have any superstitions? Are you a superstitious person, or are you just a little stitious? What are you?
No, I'm not really superstitious. I mean, nah. I mean, like, no, I'm not. I'm not.
Nothing?
When I was in high school, I was,
go ahead. What do you got?
Like, like when I played sports, I mean, I would watch everything, but I would make sure that I always had on the same pair of socks. So for football, they look kind of like messed up looking, right? Like they had stains and they look like all types of things. They were clean, but I had to make sure that I wore the same socks and everything, like everything part of my uniform, like everything had to be like the exact same. But as I got older, it's like, man, look, if something's going to happen, it's going to happen.
That's good. That's good. I would be a meal guy. I'd be the same meal.
Okay.
And again, I was in high school. I couldn't do this today. Not that I've played basketball anytime recently, but chicken wings. I'd crush chicken wings. I'd have
before the game?
Not like, I wouldn't be like in the locker room eating chicken wings. Like that day, like usually like lunch, I'd have to have chicken wings. And I had a really good run where I'd watch a scene from Gladiator. And I'd watch that. That would be my motivational video. before I went out on the court.
Wow, that's crazy. You know, I hope you didn't punch your coach or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like,
it turns out Gladius, Gladius onto a court, that's frowned upon. That's frowned upon.
Yeah, exactly. How dare you take me out?
now, granted, I just happened to do it once, and I dropped like 32 points in an intramural game. You know, so I was like, I gotta do this from now on. This is what I gotta do. So that's how I rocked it, man. That's how I rocked it. All right. Next week, we're going to go through some more. I'm sure over the weekend, there's going to be plenty that breaks, plenty of conversation points. We'll get into it all next week as the draft gets closer and closer. Right now, again, due diligence is the buzzword and the buzz phrase of the 76ers and pretty much every other team with a lottery pick. So we'll continue to break it down. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Let's see if we got one or two in here. There we go. I think Lai said they drink a 6-pack before the game. There you go.
Right. Hey, what was your record? What was your record? What was your record?
0-18. There we go. DJ AK, Mr. Sandman again. Ace Bailey, the exact same height as Cooper Flagg without shoes on, but Bailey has a longer wingspan. All right. Phil W, what's up, Phil W? Watching Ace Bailey. Man, mid-range and fadeaway. Beautiful. Imagine him getting stronger. That's what I think of, Phil, when I think of Ace Bailey. Imagine that guy filling out. Yeah. Mitch, what's up, Mitch? How you doing? Don't make a trade like the Clippers 28 pick and McCain for Harper. That's sorry, Scoozy on that one. Yeah, we prefer not to do that trade. And we also like to keep our language clean. You know what I mean? Anyway, thanks everybody in the chat. Appreciate you guys joining us live for a fan-friendly Friday to get you guys more and more involved in the show. Keith Pompey, it's Father's Day. Any big plans over the weekend?
You know what? It's funny because I have one brother who lives in Atlanta. He's coming to town, and nice. My twin sister and my little sister, we're all going to go over to my dad's house and just hang out with him. Like normally in the past, it would be I just want to sit on the couch, have a little beverage, watch TV all day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but now we're going to make it a family affair, like going and hang out with Pops. What about you?
That's beautiful. Going to be close to home. I did not realize it, but when my wife and I got married, we got married on the 15th. We didn't think about Father's Day being my wedding anniversary, my 7th wedding anniversary, and then I have Father's Day, same day. So that's the way that goes down. That's the way that goes down.
Yeah, but you couldn't tell. Well, we're not going to get married on this day because it's Father's Day 7 years later.
Exactly. But thank you, man. And to all the fathers, happy Father's Day. For all the soon-to-be fathers, congratulations. It's the greatest thing ever. Thanks for watching Locked On 76ers, this live version of it. Thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen today. For your second listen, make sure you guys check out Locked On NBA Big Board Show, where NBA draft expert Rafael Barlow reacts to every workout, every interview, every rumor leading up to the NBA draft. Find Locked On NBA Big Board on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Make sure you guys are reading Keith Pompey on Inquirer.com. Thanks for watching this edition of Locked On 76ers.